Hello, people. How are you doing? Wonderful. I did a video not too long ago called Participation, but I went back out to the community and wanted to kind of advertise my business. And as I was walking down the road, there were some thoughts that arose, you know. And the reason probably why those thoughts arose the way that they did is because the conversation, not of selection, but again, the people that you want to attract. I made some other videos about colorism and racism and stuff like that. And then, matter of fact, I also had put some things in Spanish so that people who are in our neighborhood didn't seem as if we were being excluding them or anything like that. I know readily we have people who talk about black and brown and beige and white and all that other kind of stuff. But it was just like, wow, this thought. Matter of fact, I'm gonna post this video on Facebook. It was just too much for me to just think I want to put it in writing. I wanted to say it out loud, and so this is the reason why the video is being made. But as I was going down the road and handing out the little flyers, let me show you. No, I'm not going to show you. You can find it on Facebook. No, let me show you. Is it here? One moment. This little flyer here. You see it? Okay. So the video, the flyer, I was handing it out to people saying, well, listen, yes, we want to do BB&D, which is the business building and development. Now, I wasn't being trying to be selective, but I think that I've already had explained to different people about why I wanted to attract people of color, and that's Black people, okay? For we can have a conversation, a dialogue about doing business, doing a community cooperative, because that's what it is. It is a cooperative. When you have a group of people and they decide that they're going to go into a business venture, it is a cooperative because now we're using their resources, whether they're knowledgeable about a subject or they're employed or whatever it is. Whenever you decide to work on, let's say, a housing project or you want to help the homeless, it is more effective when you have other people and other people who will get on board so that you can go ahead and implement certain things and strategize and bring your ideas together. If we want to work with, hey, we rarely can talk about team workforce or workforce development. And then yes, we also know that there are um, places such as temporary agencies. I don't know if we have labor ready out here, but there's labor ready. So there are opportunities to build workforce, okay? Not just with our youth or with our seniors. I said this, the reason why I'm saying this is because I don't want anybody to think that I'm not looking at them because of their color. Well, I ain't gonna fib to you. I've traveled different places and stuff like that. It has something to do with a group of people who may assume, and that assume is like ASSUME, who may not think that they're benefiting from the resources or the opportunities that seems readily available to other people. Now, the video about participation was talking about people who are employed. Now, if I go to one place or the other and then I'm seeing that there is a problem with our society or that we're not I want to say maximizing, but being a part of, let's say, a pool of money for our businesses, then that means that, and I'm not talking about, I know we got stores, I know people who are functioning, I know we got entrepreneurs, but now I'm talking about even for some larger projects. I'm not disputing if we're people are doing it or they're not doing it, or that people are supporting their government to do it. We're talking about here it is opportunities where we know readily the empowerment, the financial and the economic empowerment is an opportunity that's circulating for all of us. So now when you start looking at big projects and stuff like that, and I know that the scope is like that, but when you start looking at investing in other people businesses. I mean, it's like that. I mean, I ain't gonna fib to you. Readily, it's not to be like, okay, well, I'm excluding you, knowing that we have human rights where we're inclusive. But then there's something else to be talking about minority, and then yet the same minority is white. Matter of fact, I have met people, and these people have went to a HBCU, and yet we have all the other universities, but they wanted to go to an all-black school, and they knew that they were white. Now, don't get me misunderstood. We could go round and around about what we have readily available that the government has to offer us, and then yet here it is, that conversation about a group of people who feel who assumes that the money is not there for them. Well, the money may not be looking like it's there for them, but it's there for them when we start applying. There will be a reason why we want to defend something and work towards something. The truth. I think that I had shared a story about me traveling someplace, and I was like, well, what is the issue or what is the complaint? And then I began to understand, apart from them wanting to look at us being a mixed group of different people or looking like we're an integrated community, what I was not seeing in some of these places, and that would be including places that we would say a lot of Black people live there, that a lot of Black people was not owning the business. They were not operating the business. Now, like I said, having a shop with clothing and a little store, we support all of that. But my conversation is about farming or manufacturing. The truth, I can't even begin to tell you the truth about that. I'm not seeing that. However, I go to some other places and we see people who are light skinned, white people, and they have these businesses. So now when you start looking at, here it is, a community that's thriving where it's just all Black, and you know that the resources and the products and stuff is being supported and all of that kind of thing, it was not there. I didn't say that Black people didn't have hot sauce, but when we do find them, can we put that hot sauce on the market? We do have people who want to make hot sauce. The thing is that the hot sauce didn't go to the main market. So collectively, let's just say as a group, we would be able to look at the hot sauce that the Black person made and put that in Superior, in Ralph's, Food for Less. You understand where I'm coming from? It's not to say, oh no, but it's missing. Here it is. We're having a misunderstanding. You care for me, and I understand that. Yet you may readily have your spouse or your children, and so on and so forth. So be it. I mean, I support family. I support the family unit. Okay. Now, I just want to make sure that was clear, because as I was walking down the road, and that thought, what I just had communicated about, okay, who you gonna hand the flyer to, who you're not gonna hand it. Oh, well, this one is with you, and these people, well, here, this we're mestizos, or we're, we understand we're part of this. Okay. And then just say, well, readily, any of those things, my thought would be any one of those places. If we're talking outside the United States, if we could talk about any place outside the United States, if we're going south all the way down to Argentina, I'm gonna let you know right now, a lot of Black people are not running businesses. Okay. So if we have everybody who wants to sit there and talk about a covering, then that means that we're missing out on a few things. And it's not so much about a worry, but then it would be like, well, why do you think that so many people talk about Black power? Now, when I start walking down the street and start asking myself about this Black power, I start thinking about all that covering and then the police. Then I was like, okay, well, all this Black power, or the thought thereof about Black empowerment, and the police, right? I was like, why is it that we see all the Black people looking like they're the ones who's talking about police brutality? I didn't say that white people or brown people or beige people are not suffering at the hands of police, but they sure do advertise. Here it is about how Black people, or our Black people, are getting beat or killed. Our Black people, the Black people. And I said, well, one moment, we got a group of people who talk about Black power and Black empowerment and security and all this other kind of stuff. And we have not toppled. Here it is. These people are doing this thing. So then I'm like, okay, well, one moment. We have all these people who want to sit there because I have met some people where the thought thereof or how they want to sell this thing was okay, us being black. You have black people like, oh, it's a curse, this, and then they go with people who are white and all other kind of stuff, and I told you honestly, we're grandian people, but then they want to make it seem as one moment. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get it out there. I know we've seen the movie Queen, right? Alex Haley Queen. Well, when we see Queen, we see her with a black man, and she has two black boys with her. She goes back to her mom's house. Now they living in a cabin or whatever, okay? They're looking real southern, okay? So they go to their mom's house, and the mom's house needs to be fixed. But she doesn't stay there with her sons at her mom's house, knowing that her mom wanted her to be there. She take the boys back out of the house and take them back south. Okay, go back to the cabin. Okay, so I'm like, okay, please understand what I'm saying. So when we're looking at this with them talking about, okay, well, black people, and they said, okay, well, we mix up, we get here, 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 and then ultimately it's just all white, and then we're looking at black people. We do have black people who are doing things, people. We do. Okay, I don't know if they like, okay, well, listen, we're part of the ritual. I don't know. Good Lord. You see that T? That T don't want someplace else. But we do have black people who have money. We have black people who work. But let's go back to this police thing. And so I'm looking at it, right? And I'm walking down the street. And I'm like, if I'm not if, you bothering me about here it is, all this color stuff. I'm being bothered about color or about racism. Okay? And I'm like, well, why am I being bothered about saying, okay, well, yes, here it is. This is about BB and D. We have a lot of programs that are, let's say, general, right? Going back to the police, black power. But then yet these people who talking about black empowerment, we have not perfected these police from doing these things from us. But then yet we support everybody else, and then yet that argument thereof about our support, and then yet we could talk about Black Lives Matter all day, all night, and yet here it is. I know that they are a colored group of people. So I'm like, okay, so now we got all these people talking about Black Lives Matter, Black Power, and all this other kind of stuff, and we have not overcome or suppressed the police from doing these things. And then I said, well, do you think, one moment, do you think they doing these things on purpose? Because like I said, you don't hear about white people. I didn't say that we're not looking around the world. We're talking about right here in the United States of America. We don't see beige people and all these other group of people that they calling out. But then yet here it is, villains and savages and all this other kind of stuff. And we don't want to feed them, but we want to feed them. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, well, here it is. Well, if you get this one and then we cover this and we're working for you and this, that, and the other. And so there is that thing called hand-in-hand business. And it's like, okay, when you do a business, you want it to go to the same people you think that you're serving, right? So I was at this place and they wanted to talk about trust or having reliable, dependable people. So they wanted to make the black people who were owning the business to be like, okay, well, you can't trust your own people. We need to put white people there, this, that, and the other. So it was the thought thereof is, okay, but if something happens to you, then who's going to take care of your business? Well, put these other people inside of there. You could trust them. Okay, yeah, they will help you with your business and all other kind of stuff. Oh, well, these people are more trustworthy. They'll do this and do that. I was like, I ain't gonna be able to use. That's where training and that thought thereof about preservation and sustainable programs that will help your people with employment and all other kind of stuff. They talk about Marcus Garvey all day. And I'm like, well, you know what? If Marcus Garvey really did have a functioning business, you don't think that his family would have been working on those businesses like that? His family would have inherited his business. His family has inherited his name and the scope of his thought and vision. You understand what I'm saying? But if he had, let's say, that ship going, don't you think that readily even those people who were supporting Marcus Garvey at that time would have been functioning and doing those things? The same thing with the stores. So now when we start looking at our communities in the United States, right? We look at our communities in the United States. How many people can honestly say that they were able to inherit their family business for one thing or the other? I'm not talking about restaurants. I want us to be realistic. Let's go to this police thing again. Now I'm walking, I'm like, okay, I'm recycling, okay, I'm driving, okay. Do you think that these people are doing these things the way that they're doing these things to try to rid us from here it is our own stuff? I didn't want to, I was like, wow. Now, when we begin to think about here it is, these people going back and forth and talking about what, I'm like, wow, you don't y'all realize right there, them people, they're white. And yet they have supported producing brown. And then when you start looking for them and any one of those things, I haven't seen a lot of people who were involved with that movement over a period of time. They had added other people inside of that to talk about enough is enough, even with the police. You can call all those groups and say, well, what part? Because you know, we can complain all day long, but I haven't heard too many of them saying anything about how they need to get involved with legislation and laws and stuff like that to talk about stop harming us. But then yet when we begin to talk about the land or here it is a good product or service, they could jump all on it. Like I said, honey, let's not be too easy to talk about the cover ring because that cover ring is real, okay? Now, when we begin, I mean, let's be realistic, okay? We could talk about the pigment and the melon all day long. But when you think about, and I think I have mentioned this probably on an audio recording, but if we were to look at, let's just say, white people and black people, and then talk about a covering or replacement, now you're starting to see here it is the replacement can be easily not the same people. But if you start talking about a color and you want to say, okay, well, listen, we are part of the integrated group and this, that, and the other, and that will not be replaced by here it is, let's say, dark skinned people. The amount of people, when we start looking at atrocities around the world, white or black, and then you start talking about black people, I'm not talking about people who want to talk about they mixed or integrated because now they went into a melting pot of beige and white and brown. But when you start talking about dark skinned people and then saying, okay, now you're having a conversation about our reproduction or us producing and things like that, and being like, okay, well, those 100,000 whooped and perished away. And then yet here it is, you can say, well, we could replace them with another 100,000, the same black, dark skinned people, or and all the other kind of stuff. Then it would be like, well, where are you going to get them from? Now it's easy to say, okay, well, we can put some white people there, we can put some beige people there, we can put some brown people there. Are you understanding what I'm saying? But I'm like, wow, you mean to tell me, don't get me misunderstood, it means that we have been very much integrated and then naturally being able to produce, have, make for real black, brown, beige, and white. But looking at the police, all those people, why they want to sit there and say, well, why you want to just, are you serious? Me too. I'm trying to explain to people that it's not that I'm not looking at them like I don't care, because you know what, when we begin to think about business, these people want our minds and thoughts to be like they are the ones with the land. And then I'm like, well, honey, they were black people, brown people, beige people, white people. Then why they haven't done those things with them already? And yet they already know that those people were saying the same thing. Then when you start thinking about crossing over the waters or crossing over to other countries and stuff like that, it would be the same conversation. Now, looking at the police and they like black power, and then yeah, oh, they're killing us, ours. I said, well, that fucking ours than what's someplace else. R, our, HOUR, OUR, ARE, and R alpha. R people, R. I'm getting upset. Black power. But then I'm like, well, where are these people that talk about all that empowerment? And yet here it is, the argument about here it is, these dang on police. Let's talk about it, baby, because we got ideas and plans. One of the things I sent out to those people was talk about proxemics. That's one thing to sit there and tell the people, hey, and it's just angle 50. It was so true. I was watching this video and this dude, he was staying in his car and all this other kind of stuff. And I said, dude, how we gonna help you? You know what I'm saying? You innocently abiding by the law, or you know your rights. But then if the police did anything to you, how we gonna sit there and defend that? And then the only thing we got is that record or that police officer done something to you, and then yeah, woo 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 woo. Hours. I said, motherfucker, what? I don't know. Some of this stuff is not seeming right, especially considering that yet we have those people in some of those groups. They are with mestizos, they are with white people, they are with black people. Now we'll be like, okay, these people in this political movement, or I mean, what kind of movement is this? What kind of movement is this? If we sitting there talking about ours, 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 our own, our people, this, our, HOUR, OUR, ARE, and Alpha R. And this stuff is for real, people. When you know, hey, then it sounds almost bitter, like they want to, oh, they, I said, well, one moment. And this is the thing with this conversation here, okay? While they were sitting there doing all of that and saying all those different things, a lot of people was being, for real, exterminated. Now we can sit there and talk about our blackness all day long. But then if we're not able to defend ourselves and the same people that we sitting there, so I told you they okay, well we this and we get over in this, well, I mean, we get up in here, we get over here, we get over here, we get lighter and lighter and lighter. See, we were here, and it was here and we here, and we here, we here, we here. Now they with all those people, they could invite Irene Ratliff to their group, and I would speak to them and look at some of their books and stuff like that. No, seriously, people. As a matter of fact, Black Lives Matter and any one of those groups who want to talk about police brutality. And I told you I had went to some groups. I mean, there was some things going on, and they wanted to talk about how they wanted to look at the police and all that other kind of stuff. And I had suggested that maybe perhaps the way that we should look at it is through criminal justice or the American or administrative justice. And then looking at administrative justice, also employ people in not only security, but to be police officers and be firemen, be involved in here it is, these units. That's part of that. You know, get our men and our women involved with knowing more. And then we do have people who are involved with the corrections, but this becomes an issue because now they have to abide by the rules and stuff that's going on inside of that. Some people have structured themselves to have a callus because so many different awkward cases come in that they're not able to say a whole lot. It's just be like, wow, these people are doing these things, and it goes beyond just saying they put them in jail. If you want to sit there and talk about coast to coast and things like that, I tell you the God honest truth, this is something that's just awful. But when I was suggesting those things to them, like, listen, if we're going to do this, we need to think about, here it is, how we're going to appropriate, how we want to communicate with the police. I mean, they had all kind of trainings and stuff like that for police officers and community activity and community engagement for us to turn the other cheek. It's not okay. Black power, hour, hour, hour. I mean, I know it's just looking like it's looking, but this shit is for real. It doesn't make any sense. It sounds as if, and that if world and hold and went someplace else, as if they're supporting them doing that. I'm like, they're support. It sounds like it's supporting them. Oh, well, they say brown power because back in the day they were saying brown power and they were saying La Raza and all that other kind of thing. And then these people want to sit there and talk about, here it is, the kid, and here it is, I 75, and this, that, and the other. I'm telling you, hey, if I know this and you know this and they know this, then what is the dang old problem? But yeah, here it is. Oh, one moment. I want you to see it now. Well, I want you to see it now. I want you to see it now. And then it's like, okay, well, if we're looking at ourselves that way, oh, we're black man, it is. I ain't gonna flip you. I got a questionnaire, baby. We gotta start off with this questionnaire. I think we gotta start off with that questionnaire. Matter of fact, for some people, because the thing is that it's not so much that I need to tell you about, here it is, what you see, like you see, we all see, right? But you have people who be like, oh, hell with the black woman, hell with the white woman. Oh, and I just said, well, if you're doing all this hell, and the only thing that's left is Indian woman and the Asian woman, right? And then I said, well, one moment, we got black people who are all of that, and we have Asian people who are all of that. We got black Asians, we got Indians that are black. Matter of fact, I've always, when I grew up, I knew myself as being a native, and I knew myself as being an Indian. Those are the things that we were learning when I was growing up. That here it is, me being black, me being an Indian, me being black, me being native. So a lot of this other stuff, these other people are coming up with, I was just like, we were just listening to them. I mean, I didn't look at them that kind of way. No, seriously. Let me get off this horn. I just want to make sure that I share that information. I will be posting this on Facebook. But for some reason, I'm kind of it just seemed perplexing, and it's not. No, it's not complex. It's not complicated. It's not perplexing, but it just seemed like some people may have served into something that may have contributed to, let's just say, a tradition of white empowerment, or a tradition of brown empowerment, a tradition of beige empowerment. And then when we start talking about black empowerment, then they want to put, here it is, white, the beige, and the brown. And then you have black people who want to say that it's a curse about being black, and then yet, like I said, the talk about dark skin, talk about brown skin, beige skin, and white. And then when we start talking about employment, or having a ownership into a business, and then to talk about the police, or to talk about security, to talk about one thing or the other, and then yet we have these groups. It's one thing to sit there and say, we have these groups who want to say, okay, well, enough is enough. We don't want the police officers to do these things to us. Matter of fact, we don't want another group to despise us or anything like that. Then it'd be like, well, what is the issue? Then that means that these people who are in these groups, it'd be like, okay, well, what is it that they're serving? Or when they start talking about mother and their children and all the other kind of stuff, then people start looking back, and maybe they may not see, here it is, their mother is dark as me. And I have white children. I'm a black woman, but I do have white children. But if my children leaves me, then my love for my children and my love to get life on this earth, then what is it there for me? You understand where I'm coming from? That means that they don't love me because they want to talk about the skinny. And yet I have children that are white. I have children who are beige. I got children who is brown. No, seriously. I mean, this is literal. Oh, gosh. I'm like, well, one moment we talking about these things like that, and And they want to go back and forth with me. I was like, well, if you're going back and forth with me about this browning and all this other kind of stuff and black, then what about the people who are darker than me? This stuff is for real. And the survival of us collectively as a people, as black people. Peace out, people. It's like, wow. That thought about the police and them wanting to get a rising, and then them who want to say, well, you know what, we're effectively applying certain things. Matter of fact, it should be as organized to even have some of those group of people be with the police. Oh, here does they want to be with you? I'm like, well, are they with the police? And like I said, once you get employed, or you know, hey, there be cases, and you trying to solve the cases, and there be, it's like, wow. And then yeah, these some of these jurisdictions, they get a slap on their hand and they go on about their business. But then you see the crime being white and black. Then when we begin to think about a beginning, honey, it goes beyond to have the conversation about bondage. Oh, mm, mm, mm. But for real,